That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome to the show to be named later, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, it has been, once again, a week. We had some technical difficulties earlier in the week, but we did get a Will Middlebrooks segment. We know you guys have been asking for that with a friend of ours, Nico Fiscella, because it was his birthday, and we decided we'd talk about his favorite player ever. So we got that coming later in the show, but we also got some injury news, we got some quarantining, and we got some how about that and slightly alarming. So we also have another segment, buy or sell, that we're going to do.
Yes, that's correct. We're going to do that. That's a new segment we have, kind of timely because it's about which teams. We're naming off teams. I'm naming off NL teams. Daniel is naming off AL teams, kind of fringe teams that we don't really know if they're going to buy or sell at the deadline. When
we're going to give gut reactions. When
that deadline comes on August 31st.
Yep. We're about 2 weeks away now. We're close. It's creeping up.
Yeah, coming up pretty soon. Yeah, 2 weeks, right around move-in day for Springfield College.
That's true.
Relevant for us.
First day of classes, actually.
That's correct. And yeah, we're going to be doing that. That's going to be a fun little new thing that we have going on. But first order of business, it's been a week since we've talked. And this news came out, Monday or Tuesday?
Came out a while ago now. I'm not exactly sure what day, but we have not covered it. So, yeah. Yeah,
this Marcus Stroman, he opted out for the 2020 season because of, reasons that have been expressed before by other players.
Yeah.
He was battling a torn calf already. There was some, controversy surrounding the move because he made sure that he was going to get enough service time so that he could go into free agency after this year, which is, it comes full circle because teams do exactly that.
Yeah.
In terms of
an extra year.
Yeah, in terms of, getting an extra year, because the full service time year is 172 days. And, Chris Bryant was in 2015 was on the team for 171 days. Same thing with a lot of players. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was I think another example. But I think Chris Bryant was like the ultimate example because he had an excellent spring training and he wasn't brought up until that extra year was kind of guaranteed for him. So it comes full circle with Marcus Stroman. What are our thoughts about the whole situation?
Well, I mean, the free agency, I can obviously understand why he's opting out. You have a guy who's injured, who feels that he might not be able to produce well enough for his team. And for him, I mean, you don't want to go out there if you're Marcus Stroman injured and then have some of your value sort of tank right before hitting free agency, because that could cost you a lot of money, especially in a 60-game season where, if you make one bad start, even if the rest are pretty good, you're still going to have an ERA, at least in the 4s. And I know that people will understand the small sample size, but it's not something you want to have lingering over you when you have a free agency. And this is Marcus Stroman, his chance to cash in. I know that he's obviously going to be trying, he's obviously, going to compete regardless of if he has the money or not. But this is something he's been waiting for a while. He's a family guy. He wants to provide for his family down in Long Island, and he needs to get his money. And this is his time to do it. And you don't want anything in your way with that.
Exactly. Especially on the free agent market, your best impression is your last impression in terms of going into the free agent market. That's why,
Why don't you ask Nathan Eovaldi about that one?
Oh yeah, Nathan Eovaldi, big time. That's the ultimate example. Steven Strasburg too. Who knew, heading into October last year, who knew that he was going to be a guy that got $35 million a year
Exactly.
in his new deal? Who knew? Patrick Corbin kind of was coming off one good year, and he got the about $23 million a year there. So Marcus Stroman is doing the exact same thing, even though people might think injury problem, but even a torn calf, that's not an issue you think about with pitchers. It's not like a shoulder or an elbow injury. I don't think teams are going to be too concerned about that, especially when the pitcher market this upcoming year isn't fantastic. I mean, I know you got Trevor Bauer and Robbie Ray, and then Marcus Stroman was kind of the headliner until I think Bauer is kind of the headliner now. But yeah, Stroman is, he had a very good year last year. I think it was like a 3.22 ERA or something of that nature. And he wants that to be the last ERA he posted. And I don't think it'll hurt him too much. It'll hurt him a little bit not going out on the mound, but I think he'll be fine.
So I just have a few notes here. Stroman had a brief stint with the Mets. I think he only started 11 games. But he went 4-2, a 3.77 ERA, 109 ERA plus in the 59 innings pitched. I remember when they got him, a lot of people were criticizing the Mets about they're not going to compete. Why do they want Stroman? Coming into this year, the Mets were supposed to have DeGrom, Syndergaard, and Stroman at the top of their rotation, and I think a lot of people tend to forget that, especially because DeGrom went down months ago, and so much has happened since March when that news came out. But, I mean, people forget that Stroman is a really good pitcher, and he's probably going to make a decent amount of money on the market. And like I said, he's not going to want to waste any of that going out injured and posting a 5 ERA because, he couldn't feel his arm.
Yeah, and I believe you meant Syndergaard went down months ago. I think you said DeGrom.
Yeah, I said DeGrom, Syndergaard. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and DeGrom, I mean, DeGrom's going to just pitch.
DeGrom's DeGrom. Yeah, we all know.
He got scratched from his last start, but he'll be fine.
Good. Yeah.
A shame. Everyone loves watching him pitch. I mean, his fastball's gone up, which is insane to think about. It's insane to think about him improving.
Scary.
But yeah, that's kind of the Marcus Stroman deal. Anything else on the matter?
I love Marcus Stroman, and I hope he gets the bag.
All right, there we go. Another more pitcher news. So last week it was breaking news for us. I think maybe 20 minutes before the show, we got the news that the Indians were sending Zach Plesac home for breaking protocol. He's had a response video since then, which I think garnered him some more, more, I guess, sympathy a little bit.
Yeah.
Still not something.
I saw a lot of mixed reaction from that video.
Yeah, not exactly something you want to do. Still, not
Yeah.
You don't want to make too many excuses.
I think it was just better staying silent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't want to make too many excuses for the guy. You don't really want to just go out anyway.
That and he's also basically a rookie. Like he has his rookie year last year. Like if Miguel Cabrera were to come out and make that video, I think he gets a little more sympathy just because he's Miguel Cabrera. He's been around. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you're Zach Plesac, you can't be doing that. Yeah.
I guess you haven't earned.
There's a difference of power there, and he was on the low end of it.
Correct. So there was someone else who was not named in the initial report, but was named the next day. Mike Clevinger was also out in Chicago, and now he is quarantined. I mean, it's good, definitely good on the Indians for sending them both home for sure. But it does definitely take a tax on the starting rotation.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have depth, but it's, you don't want to see Plesac and Clevinger out of the rotation, but unfortunately you have to.
The one thing that I think is really concerning, Chris, I don't know if you read the reports, but apparently when Plesac got sent home, they basically asked around saying did we do the right thing? Or was anyone else out? And from what I heard, Clevinger kind of backhanded was defending Plesac, and then he went on the team plane back to Cleveland from Chicago, and then when he gets on the plane, oh, by the way, I was out too, so I don't know what you want me to do there. Obviously, they make him quarantine, but if that's true, that's really concerning, especially you have to consider Plesac and Clevinger share a rotation with a guy who's still, recovering from leukemia. I mean, how do you not? You got to be aware of your surroundings there.
Yeah, I mean, it's and I hate seeing that because I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Mike Clevinger. Big fan of what he's, his interaction with Trevor Bauer. I know I usually give a shout out to Trevor Bauer like every week, but
so do I.
Yeah, I mean he's always out there, but him and Clevinger made some videos last year. They were a fun pair while they were in Cleveland.
Yeah, they're supposed to start against each other, but that got ruined because of the delays.
Yeah, because of rain delays. But that being said, I mean that's just it's not good. It's not good to see that. I mean, you don't want to see that. I don't really know what to say there. You have a team, or you have a teammate that recovered from leukemia last year, and I feel like you have to open your mouth immediately. Then at least you get more forgiveness from that, and then maybe you could it's a terrible scene. I don't really know what else to say about it. I think it's kind of concrete as it is. Just a tough scene with Mike Clevinger there.
Yeah.
So more, I guess, coronavirus Major League Baseball news. Things seem to be getting better, even though. So we got the news. What was it, Thursday?
Yeah. No, it was Friday. Was it Thursday or Friday? It was in the last couple days.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday. Got news that a Cincinnati Reds player tested positive, and immediately everyone panics. I panic. You panic. The whole baseball
There's reason to
world
panic.
panics. Because we've seen what happened with the Marlins, and then we saw what happened with the Cardinals. The Marlins were off a week. Cardinals were off 2.5 weeks. And, their whole series against the Pirates this weekend was postponed. However, no one else on the Reds so far has tested positive, and that player
Or staff member
has tested negative now. So pretty good news from Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely encouraging to see that it might have been a false positive. I know it does kind of take guys out of the rhythm. I think Trevor Bauer was a little upset about it. But at the end of the day, you have to take all this seriously. I mean, you can't be, the last time it wasn't taken seriously was the Cardinals going to the casino or the Marlins going to the nightclubs, and look where that got them. If you have any signs, you have to shut it down immediately. And the right precautions were taken. As of now, I don't think there's any update as to if they're going to get back to it this week, but so far looking encouraging.
Yeah, I'm hoping that after this, maybe if there's one positive test, I'm hoping that it's handled more like it was, I guess, sort of at the beginning of the season. Remember when I think Juan Soto tested positive for COVID on opening day, and they just sent him home, and I think they assumed that it wouldn't get passed around because of whatever precautions they had, and it didn't spread. So I think if no one broke protocol and someone still got it, it might not spread on the field if you're practicing with the team, taking BP. So I think that's a good sign. It must have been a false positive. And from, no one has said that anyone on the Reds broke protocol. So, I think that was just kind of a bump in the road
Hopefully,
the
hopefully, it's false
them
positive.
and the league.
Yeah. What? By the way, I've started thinking, what happens if there's like a false positive? Like, what if Aaron Judge has a false positive the day before, like Game 7 of the ALCS?
I mean,
Like, I think people aren't taking into account an entire team can get screwed in the playoffs because of a false positive test.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like if if uh if it's like Game 7 and Garrett Cole's about to go
Yeah.
for you.
If Garrett Cole's pitching tonight? No, he's not. Nope. Get up here, Jonathan Loizaga. You're throwing tonight.
Yeah, you can't like. That's horrible, but that's the idea of.
Like that is a real possibility.
Yeah, it's a big possibility. Yeah, especially with the false positives, because real positives are usually happening because of protocol breaking, but no one on the Reds broke protocol from what we're hearing, and just a false positive happened, and their 3-game series got postponed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems the handling of this, it's a little alarming, but as long as there's baseball happening, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have any solutions for you folks. I don't know.
There is no solutions to be had. We're just a couple analysts or aspiring analysts.
Yeah, aspiring analysts, I guess.
Yeah, we're trying to make it.
Yeah, I guess that's what what our titles are as of now. But now we can get to some, I guess, on the field stuff. Finally, as we start talking about some on the field stuff. So the Yankees were definitely the hottest team on the planet at a point, and some bad news hitting them in the past pretty much week. Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, and DJ LeMahieu have all hit the injured list for the Yankees. What are we thinking about this news?
I'm thinking Xander Bogaerts just made the #1 play on SportsCenter tomorrow.
Oh wow!
Might be safe. But anyway, luckily for the baseball world, neither of these 3 injuries look to be that serious. Giancarlo Stanton, it was his hamstring, right? I believe it was his hamstring, but it was like the lowest possible like diagnosis you could have. So he'll probably be on the shelf for like 2 or 3 weeks, if that. Aaron Judge, same thing, just a strained calf, and once again, at the 10th day that he's on the IL, he'll probably be close to back. DJ LeMahieu, it was his thumb, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So thankfully, none of these injuries look too serious. And I mean, the Yankees, they built a reputation last year of being a next man up kind of team. They had endless injuries last year, and they were able to prevail, still win 100 games. So this shouldn't affect their on-field play too much. I think the one thing that really does take a sad hit is Aaron Judge is probably out of the MVP race now. Or at least there's a very good chance. If you miss 12 games, you're probably not going to qualify for any rate statistics, and that's a huge part of the MVP voting, which is unfortunate because he had a real shot this year. He was right up there with Mike Trout and OPS and weighted runs created plus and all of those. And he was also crushing the ball, and he was also pulling the ball, which he sort of got away from, which is cool.
Yeah, and even if he does qualify, it's still like he'll be behind in wins above replacement and all that. And that's
one thing though that was very concerning for me is the matter of which the sequence of Aaron Judge hitting the IL happened. So the Yankees have an off day Monday, and on Tuesday they have a game against the Braves at home. And with the Yankees winning 8-3 in like the 6th inning, Aaron Judge gets pinch hit for Mike Tauchman, which is a little weird. They had just had an off day, so it doesn't really seem like he needs rest. But they're up 8-3, so you could let it slide. And Aaron Boone was asked about it after the game, and he said, "No need to worry. He was just resting. Everything's gonna be fine. He'll be right back tomorrow." Basically, is what he said. So okay, like whatever. Got to win. That's cool. Next day, Aaron Judge is not in the lineup, and Aaron Boone is unsure if he's going to be ready for Friday's game in 2 days. And now it's like, okay, what's going on? Because you told us last night that he was fine. Clearly, he's not fine. And he obviously wasn't fine when he was getting taken out of the game. So there's a lot of mixed signals going out here, and then eventually on the IL with a strained calf. Chris, what is your takeaway from how Aaron Boone handled that?
I think
Slightly alarming.
that's
Yeah.
what I think about it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's very. If I were a Yankee fan, I'd be very very upset with Aaron Boone. You want your manager to be very honest, very honest with you, and even if because I know some teams will, they don't want to make the injury clear because they don't want teams kind of playing to the player's weakness. Like, if they have a wrist injury, they're probably going to be worse on inside pitches. So you don't want to really explain that to the public, but you want to be clear that there might be an issue and he might hit the 10-day injured list, or you say like he's got something going on with his leg.
Just make him day to day.
Yeah, he's got something going on with his leg. This is day to day. We're taking it one day at a time. Blah 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 blah.
Like if you land on the IL previously, when you were previously day to day, it's like, okay, well, it was worse than we thought. We get it. That didn't even happen. He just went straight up. Oh, like never mind. He's not injured for the next 2 weeks. Never mind. Sorry, guys. And New York is the one market where you really can't do that because they're gonna remember that in that media.
Oh yeah, that's if things go wrong again, I mean that's a second strike on Boone. One fun statistic I have on the matter, or I guess I don't know if it's a how about that or slightly alarming now that they're gone. So entering Sunday, the Yankees were the only team in the league with 3 players with 50-plus plate appearances and an OPS of 975 or better. And now all 3 of them are on the injury list.
Oh, that's sad. I actually also had a note. Giancarlo Stanton, this guy he's been through a lot in his Yankees tenure. It started out with him striking out 5 times in a game, twice, and getting booed. And then he, went on to do really well in 2018, and then he was hurt pretty much all of 2019, but did well in the playoffs. So it's been a roller coaster of a ride. And to start this year, he ranked 13th in the majors in weighted runs created plus with 184, and 6th in OBP with a 453 before going down. He had a slash line of 293, 453, 585 for a 1038 OPS. And it sucks because this was, probably the best that people were feeling Giancarlo Stanton as a Yankee the whole time. And now we have to wait a couple weeks to see if he can maintain the success, even though he just dealt with an injury.
Yeah, I mean that's been the story of Giancarlo Stanton for a while now. Very unfortunate.
Was he that injury prone in Miami?
I mean, I'll look at his reference page because I
don't remember it to this degree.
Not to this degree, but
yeah,
he did sometimes struggle to get to 130 games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're looking at baseball reference.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of on a Hall of Fame track. He has 40.9 baseball reference for a 144 career.
And he's still got 10 years plus on it. He's still got how many years on his deal? 2028, right? So 8 years? Yeah. I mean, he's still got plenty of time to get to – that's 8 years to get about 20 more WAR. That gets him to 60, which is a really good number for him. So, that would mean he'd have to average out, 20 divided by 8. How much WAR would that be per season? Like 3 or 4?
Like 2.5.
Yeah, he is on a legit Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yeah, he's got 311 homers. That's 189 until 500, which is, especially if you didn't test positive for anything, that's pretty much a Hall of Fame election right there.
Exactly.
So from 2010 on, season by season, so he played 100 games his rookie year. He was probably called up midseason. Then 150 in 2011, 123 in 2012, 116 in 2013, 145 in 2014, 74 in 2015, 119 in 2016, 159 in its MVP season 2017, 158 the year after that, and then 18 last year, 14 this year. So
Okay, so
he
two of those
usually missed
three,
like 40 games.
two of those three, or actually, no, all three of those healthy seasons are his best seasons. Like, if you look at Giancarlo Stanton's best seasons, it's 2017, 2014, 2018, in whatever order you want to put it. I personally would put that order. Because 2014, no one was really hitting the ball except for him, and he was crushing numbers like nobody else. But I mean, what was the least amount of home runs he had in either of those three seasons?
I X'd out of it. It was
It's got to be like 36, right?
I think it was
'Cause he had
37.
59. Because he had 59 in 2017. I think he had 38 in 2018. And 2014, I want to say, was like 36, 37.
Yeah, it was 37.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, people forget a healthy Giancarlo Stanton is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he's got a $325 million contract.
Mhm.
There's a reason why he was probably the hottest commodity after the 2017 season, including free agents.
Mm-hmm. He was basically a free agent because he had the no trade clause, and I remember he denied trades to go to San Francisco and St. Louis, which led to him in New York. So I mean, like that was basically a free agent saga.
Yeah, I mean this guy was on my on both our all decade teams. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Yeah, I think he, for an outfielder, had the most home runs of the decade for an outfielder.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys.
He was the second outfielder after Mike Trout, both of us, I think.
Yeah, I had him 3. I'm pretty sure, but still, all decade team, big time.
And last but not least, DJ LeMahieu. We haven't really touched on him as much. I think we've seen. I mean, if you look at the 2018 and 2019 Yankees, the biggest difference in that lineup is the presence of DJ LeMahieu. You know, the 2018 Yankees were famous for exclusively hitting home runs and nothing but home runs. DJ LeMahieu did that too in 2019, but he also, I mean, what was his average with runners in scoring position? Like 980 or something like that. It felt like every time he came up with runners in scoring position, it was a guaranteed like double into the gap, maybe a single through the hole, maybe a home run. Anything, whatever it is, he's going to come through, and that is a huge difference in your lineup. You don't get all the time. And he's coming into free agency after this year. So, I mean, you definitely don't want to see that for his market value.
Yeah, and he was when he went down, he was hitting 400 or something like that, just overall.
Yeah, no, he was 100. Yep.
Yeah, and he had a 990 OPS, just unreal. And yeah, I mean, I didn't see how he sprained his thumb yet, but hopefully he'll be back. But if the left thumb is bothering him, that's big for both hitting and fielding. So you don't want to rush that. You want to make sure he's there for the late division push and the playoffs.
That's right.
But yeah, we'll see about him, Judge, and Stanton. Some more news happening, I guess. So the St. Louis Cardinals are back playing baseball for the first time.
Finally.
2.5 weeks, and won a series against the White Sox.
They swept a doubleheader in that first day back. Yeah,
that's right. And yeah, pretty good first impression from the Cardinals. I guess it's good to see him back.
Also, Adam Wainwright this season, his last start, he had 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He's still dealing. I mean, he's pushing upper 30s now. Has a 1.64 ERA this season. Granted, I can't imagine he's pitched that much. He's only 2 starts. He's 2-0, and only 8 strikeouts in 11 innings pitched. But I mean, you love to see it from him. I mean, he's 38. He is 38 years old and still producing.
Yeah, that guy, Cardinals legend,
Mm-hmm.
and I said that I thought that he would do, continue being pretty good, and that's why he's part of the reason I had them as repeating as National League Central champions. The Cubs have something to say about that, though.
Yeah,
they've been doing pretty good.
So
So
the Cardinals, they have a doubleheader. Is there any particular reason they're waiting till Wednesday to throw Jack Flaherty?
I mean, I don't know.
I'm looking at this. They have a doubleheader on Monday and Wednesday, and Jack Flaherty is pitching the first game on Wednesday. So that's the first time he's taking the mound.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's not like, what team are they playing?
Cubs.
Maybe that reason, but I mean, you still want a good pitcher going out against the White Sox because that lineup's pretty good too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't really have, because like when we remembered, one thing we were talking about early in the season was like Walker Buehler didn't get a start until like the 6th game of the season.
Yeah, but that was to have him face the Astros. Like
Yeah.
they figured we don't need him against the Giants. We can beat this team. They ended up splitting the series, so maybe they shouldn't have done that. But you could have shown him the second game against the Astros.
There was a solid reason behind it. This one, I don't really understand.
Like you need to, yeah, it is very weird. Like why not throw him the first game against the Cubs? Like don't you want him unless of a hiatus?
Yeah, I'm not. That's a weird one. I don't know about that.
Interesting, but they have a lot of catching up to do, which is going to be really tough. Those players are going to be so drained, man. Like if the Cardinals make some sort of postseason, or if the Cardinals win a series, good for them in the postseason. Good for them because I don't know how they're going to be able to be, playing on that much fumes after playing endless doubleheaders in the last month and a half of the season.
Yeah, we talked about it last week how, they're at a disadvantage, you can't throw, if you have 7 games in 5 days, you can only throw, Flaherty, Michaelis, and Wainwright and
Hudson
in one of those 7 games. It's not a full rotation. You have to throw in some random guys because you're playing, 7 games in 5 days.
Yeah.
It's not a normal, 5-game rotation. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for them.
Yeah. And not only that, but like on top of all the games they have to make up, they still have an active schedule that is, going through. Like it's like, hey, you got to make up this game from August 4th, but you also have a game scheduled for August 21st that you still have to play. Like that you can't just forget about that game because of the one you missed a month ago. Yeah,
and thank God the MLB made it so that it was East versus East, Central versus Central.
That would have been a nightmare. That was probably the best thing they did. In the schedule making.
Yeah, because if they had to go to Los Angeles and then to Philadelphia, you can't do that.
That'd be a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. But now we go over to our segment. We'll go into our buy or sell segment. Fun little thing, just gut reaction of, I think you'll go first with the American League teams.
Do you want to alternate?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, how many teams do you have? Just curious.
I'm just gonna do 5 as well.
Okay, so we both have 5. Cool.
Okay.
All right, my first team. This team has kind of come out of nowhere and looks really intriguing right now, and it is the Baltimore Orioles. They're 12-9, in line for a playoff spot.
I don't know what they can sell.
That's the thing. Well, actually, I got some notes later on.
I think it'll be one of those like weird. I can't concretely say buy or sell. I think it'll be one of those weird like retooling things where like, how like the Diamondbacks and Mariners had that weird.
Mike. That was the funniest trade of last year's trade deadline.
I think they'll
when
do
the Mariners traded Mike Leake to the Diamondbacks. My lasting memory of the Orioles at the deadline was, I want to say it was 2017, when they were convinced that they traded for Jeremy Hellickson, and that was their big move, and then they proceeded to suck through the rest of the season, and then in 2018 they were like the worst team ever. That's my lasting Orioles at the deadline. It's like, congrats, you just got Jeremy Hellickson. You won the Jeremy Hellickson sweepstakes.
Yep. Yeah, that was a wild one.
Yeah. All right. Who was your first team?
My first team, Philadelphia Phillies.
This team has to buy. I mean, this team is way too big of a payroll and way too much expectations to sell.
Okay.
The line. First of all, Bryce Harper, legitimate MVP candidate. Chris, he was your MVP pick. Up until a couple of days ago, he was leading all of Major League Baseball in OPS. I want to see, where does he rank now? Jesse Winker is leading OPS right now, and Bryce Harper is right behind him. Shout out to Jesse Winker for having an 1196 OPS. Bryce Harper is right behind him at 1165. Also, JT Realmuto, he's hitting the crap out of the ball. That is a 1071 OPS. Kutch and Segura still haven't really turned it on yet, but they need a bullpen. Hector Neris cannot be your closer. That cannot happen. Did you see that stat today that they had the worst bullpen since ERA was even a thing? I saw this on MLB's Reddit page today. Hold on. Let me find this post that said the Phillies have the worst bullpen so far, literally of all time, since ERA. Yeah, here it is. Hang on. It's from the turfsports.com. The Phillies bullpen has the worst ERA since ERA has existed. They have a 10.19 bullpen ERA. Pretty good.
10.19. Almost up there with Harper's OPS.
Yeah. Oh, wait, but never mind. Okay, that was earlier, but now it's 9.12. Pretty good. Oh. Yeah, they're giving up a little over a run per inning. Yeah. They need a bullpen piece desperately, but I think this team does buy. Maybe Brandon Workman could be available. Maybe Matt Barnes.
Dylan
Betances. Okay, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay.
In-division trading or interdivision trading is a little sketchy, especially Phillies.
Maybe Ian Kennedy, who is someone you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
By the way, how are they going to mandate trade deadline pieces with quarantining? If the Red Sox trade I don't know, if the Red Sox trade Jackie Bradley Jr. to the Giants and he has to move cross country, how are they going to do that? Does he just join the team immediately, or is he hey, listen, you just went on an airplane across the country. We're going to need you to sit out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But anyway, next team is the Toronto Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays. They'll buy.
Okay, so what are they buying? What positions?
They will get a middle of the rotation starter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the full list of agents, but
I get what you're saying though.
They'll go after that.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays, obviously a lot of people realize they have a future, but I don't think a lot of it comes this year. So I think if they do get a middle of the rotation piece, it's going to be a guy that has control. They're not going to take, they're not going to it's their name moves we're going to have for a month as a free agent. We're not going to let me that. They're going to have a guy who they can use in potential future playoff runs that as well will be this year.
Yeah. So my second team, the Washington Nationals.
This team buys. Yeah, I'm going to say this team buys. And I think this is the one team that I really looked into before doing this segment. This team actually does not have the only top 100 prospect they have is Carter Kieboom, who is currently on the active roster. So they don't really have any big pieces that they can sell. And I think one thing that Mike Rizzo doesn't get a lot of credit for is how well he did at the trade deadline last year. The two names that really stick out to me, correct me if there are more, but Daniel Hudson and Asdrubal Cabrera. The two, they're not the big move. They're not the big flashy moves on paper, but they got the job done. Daniel Hudson at a 2.15 ERA after being traded to the Nationals that season. And Asdrubal Cabrera, I don't know if people realize this, but ever since he got traded back to the Nationals, he didn't stay there a while ago, but ever since he got traded back in 2019, he's a 940 OPS. And that is, I think it's 21st in the majors, and it's third among second basemen. and he was really effective in the playoffs last year. I believe he got an RBI in Game 7. Or that might have been someone else maybe. But he was very effective for them. And I think that's what the Nationals are going to go for. I think they're going to buy, but it's going to be the small moves that might, have a really good chance of working out.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So my next team, another team that I really did not think I'd be putting on this list if you told me like a month ago I'd be doing this, but they are also they're above 500 is the Detroit Tigers.
Tigers, they'll sell, I believe.
Okay.
It's they're middle of the road right now, but they're still up and coming. One guy that will stay that you might not have thought was going to stay before the season is probably Matthew Boyd, because he's not a lot of market value right now. He's kind of struggled as of late, I'm pretty sure.
One of their potential trade assets, CJ Crone, just opted after the season, so that's not going to happen. I think really like maybe Jonathan Scope, maybe trade him.
Yeah. I'm not
maybe Michael
not too
Fulmer.
familiar with the Tigers.
Maybe Cameron Maben.
Yeah, Cameron. I don't know. I definitely don't see them buying. That's my gut reaction.
What I could see is if they. I think this should happen now, but I could see them trading a starting pitcher and then using that as the reason to call up Casey Mize, even though they should just call him up right now.
Yeah.
Like, I hate the excuse where it's like, or right now especially, where it's like, oh, we're developing him more. We don't want to rush him. You can't rush someone now. There is no minor league baseball. There is no developing Casey Mize when he's not pitching. I think I made the point before, but it bugs me.
Yeah, exactly. And, he was a guy, he was drafted after his junior year of college. He already had the college experience.
The Auburn Tigers.
He's had a year and a half of minor league experience.
Threw a no-hitter.
Now's the time. Now's the time to put him in the major leagues.
Yeah, I agree.
So my third team, these might be a little spicier. The Milwaukee Brewers.
Ooh. They just took 3 from the Cubs, so I'm going to say they buy. I think a lot more teams are going to buy than most people think, because there's expanded playoffs and anything can happen in a short season. I think a lot more teams are going to buy. The Brewers might be the 4th best team in this division. I still think they buy. They've had some intriguing rotation pieces that have looked a lot better than I think a lot of people realize. A lot of their bullpen pieces, obviously Josh Hader, he still hasn't given up a run. He's been Josh Hader. David Phelps has been pitching for them. He is a 1.04 ERA with a 0.69 FIP in 8 games. He also has 3 holds. Devin Williams, 8 games, 1.04 ERA, same thing, in 2/3 innings. They have a lot of good underrated pieces that have been. Corbin Burns, a 3.38 ERA. Alex Claudio, a 2.84 in 6 1/3 innings pitched. Adrian Hauser, a 3.27 ERA in 22 innings. He was in the Carlos Gomez trade a bunch of years back that Josh Hader was also in, and I think Corbin Burns is also in. That was a under the radar really bad trade. Brett Suter and Brandon Woodruff have also both been really good. They have a lot of good pitching pieces. I think they could use some more depth on offense. Justin Smoke has not been too intriguing for them as a DH. 206 average, 614 OPS. Orlando Arce has looked good. 304, 804. Yelich is got to get out of that. Yelich and Hura are both struggling. I think we all know that they'll get back into it. Braun is struggling, but he'll probably get back into it. Again, is struggling. The offense. The Brewers are going to find the need offense.
Yep, I probably agree with that. Maybe, I guess I don't know if it would be out of their price range, quote unquote price range, but like a starter would be nice. Mm-hmm. But those are hard to get, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. So your 4th American League
team, the Texas Rangers.
This
one's a thinker. This one's a big thinker.
Yeah, that's a big thinker because they've been middle of the road so far. They were expected to be middle of the road to maybe above average. They don't have Kluber for most of the year. Lance Lynn is looking amazing. Mike Minor.
How long could that continue? Because he's into his 30s.
Yeah, I mean, like, in terms of over the years, the Astros just got like 3 in a row. They're looking more like themselves.
The Mariners.
Yeah. The A's, I mean, I think they'll buy because I think they, even at the trade deadline, they'll have an idea of them maybe being able to get the second place spot. The Astros haven't really looked like themselves yet this season.
Do you think that division is over? Like, do you think the A's have wrapped it up?
Not quite. I mean, the Astros are super talented, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of their offensive pieces that are struggling now, suddenly just surge. I wouldn't say so now, but the A's are looking amazing right now. But yeah, I think the Rangers will try to get some type of bat in their lineup.
Do you know who their best bat this season has been?
Well, it's can't be an obvious one. No.
Todd Frazier.
Wow.
Yeah, Todd Frazier. He had 2 hits today, and he's up to a 317 average with a 918 OPS.
Solid. How's Joey Gallo doing?
203 average, 830 OPS. So he's back to the stereotypical Joey Gallo, where he only hits extra base hits in 20% of the time, if that.
How about that?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's yeah. I think I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot more teams that are buying than
especially with the expanded playoff. Like, yeah. I think half these teams, like I think the Brewers would sell if there was a regular playoff format.
Yeah, and there's not going to be. I don't think there will be as many giant moves, but the smaller moves are going to be.
Especially because most of the trade deadline deals are rentals, and those are only for a month and not 2 months this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So my 4th National League team, the Cincinnati Reds.
This team buys. This team is way too deep, and this team has been rebuilding for too long to sell again. And this is the year that they had expectations for once. That pitching rotation is ungodly great. Trevor Bauer is insane. Luis Castillo is disgusting. Sonny Gray is amazing. Anthony Descalfani has been shaky, but he just came off an injury. Tyler Mahle and Wade Miley have potential to be good. I think that if they don't address the lineup, it's not the worst thing in the world, but they have to get another bullpen piece. Raisel Iglesias has been struggling. Michael Lorenzen has been struggling. Really, the only guy out of that bullpen that has been producing is Amir Garrett, which I'm happy to see because I love him. They lost Jared Hughes this season, I believe, which has been a tough loss to them. But this team needs bullpen pieces, and they absolutely have to buy. Like, there's no excuse to sell with how long they've been selling.
All right. Good to hear. I would agree with that. I think they'll get a bullpen piece.
Yeah. So my last team is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, formerly of California.
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I got MLB at that, so I can see their record. So
they are under 500.
Oh.
To say the least.
I mean,
this is a team with superstardom all around, but they're 7-15.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question. So, when they signed Bundy, was it a 1-year deal?
They traded for Bundy, I thought.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I want to see. I'm gonna look him up on reference.
Julio Teheran is not the answer. He has a 12.38 ERA. That can't happen.
Because they definitely fixed Dylan Bundy.
Yeah.
It's also this guy, if you want to maybe rebuild, I don't know, he can bring over a lot.
You don't want to trade him now. Yeah.
He's a free agent after the 2021 season. So, I mean,
I don't think you trade him now because okay, I'll let you give your answer first. But normally you'd see a 7-15 record and say, oh, that's an obvious sell. But like they have two superstars in their lineup. They have Shohei Ohtani, who I mean, I don't know if he's ever gonna pitch again. We might never know. We might never know if he was meant to be a pitcher here. You have Joe Adell, who just came up, and the pitching staff. Dylan Bundy's obviously an ace. Andrew Heaney has looked pretty good. Griffin Canning and Patrick Sandoval have potential, and then the fifth starter has been Julio Teheran, who's terrible. But for a team with a 7-15 record, they look like they should be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm breaking the rules right now. I'm looking at like
It's okay.
the
That's
contract years and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, you have Trout, who you can't trade Mike Trout. Anthony Rendon, you just signed, so you can't trade him. You're definitely not going to trade Albert Pujols. No one wants him. I mean, Justin Upton, you're going to hang on to him. I mean, I don't know. Andrew Heaney still has control through 2021. Andrelton Simmons is on the IL, so he doesn't have a lot of market value. Tommy La Stella, maybe. I mean, he was like voted as an all-star last year, but I don't know how he's doing this year.
He's good.
I mean, I think I hate to give a middle-of-the-road answer, but I think they stay pretty much stagnant this year.
They just don't do anything. Listen, teams do that. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But like gun to your head, you had to pick one of the other. Like gut reaction, what are you gonna say?
Sell.
Okay. All right. So that is the Angels. Your last team is who?
My last team is the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I think this team sells. This team kind of, I mean, I guess the one good example you could bring of them buying was JD Martinez. But I mean, they also can sell when they have, like last year they sold and made a run towards the end of the year. I think Robbie Ray goes. I think Robbie Ray gets traded for sure. Even if he's not doing very well this season, everyone knows the guy has potential, whether he's going to show it or not. I don't really see what they're going to buy. I think this team sells. I think they kind of pack it in. They're like, I get that, they've won 4 in a row and they are at 500 now. So and they definitely have a shot at the playoffs, but out of the 5 teams, I think this one has the best chance of winning. And maybe, selling doesn't necessarily have to mean you give up on your season. Like, there are plenty of teams. Like, I remember the 2017 Minnesota Twins. They traded Brandon Kinsler, who was their closer. Guess what? They made the playoffs. They don't expect that. I do think this team still don't know what they're really going to buy. I think Robbie Ray goes.
Yeah. I remember they traded Kinsler and they traded Jaime Garcia after his.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then didn't the Yankees trade him and have him for like 2 seconds? Or was that the Braves? That was the Braves. He went from the Braves to the Yankees.
Yeah, it was a weird little stint there.
There's one, yeah. Yep.
So yeah, that is our segment of buy or sell. It was a fun segment, kind of brought up last minute. Glad we did it. And now we go over to the main event of the evening, I would say. We talked about a lot of things with our friend Nico Fiscella, our friend from the Springfield College Communications Sports Journalism program.
By the way, Nico Fiscella, the host of Bricks and Buckets basketball podcast.
Yeah, if you want to get your basketball fix in, I know it's a good time to listen to anything basketball. So yeah, listen to Bricks and Buckets. I don't have his social media on par right now.
At Nico_Fiscella on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep, there we go. And yeah, we talked about it's not solely Will Middlebrooks. I mean, that was kind of the crux. That was kind of the seed of it all. But we also talked, 2012 Red Sox. It was very Red Sox heavy. Talked about kind of growing up and learning about the Red Sox, accepting the Red Sox as a losing team in 2012 and kind of their turnaround in 2013 and like Will Middlebrooks' career. It was an interesting little segment that kind of went everywhere. So we hope you enjoy this segment. Here it is. Hello and welcome to the Will Middlebrooks segment of the show to be named later. We've done, this is our 51st episode, and, it's been 51 too long to go without doing a full-on Will Middlebrooks segment. So we brought, Daniel and I brought our close friend, a Will Middlebrooks researcher, Will Middlebrooks stan himself, Nico Fiscella, our fourth guest on the program in the program's history. How are you doing, Nico?
I couldn't be better. When you guys reached out to me and said, we're doing a Will Middlebrooks segment, I couldn't have been more excited.
Yeah, it's quite a scene here going on. I mean, where do we even start? I mean, he gets drafted in the 2007 MLB draft. 2007 was a good year for the Red Sox because they drafted Will Middlebrooks, most importantly, and they also won the World Series. But I think the Middlebrooks drafting was probably the most important thing to come out of that year. And then he kind of makes a transition. He goes from like a shortstop to a third baseman. And I remember he was like, when did he start really becoming like a top prospect?
I want to say, I think it was around like 2010 when like his name really started to become prominent. But then, I mean, once he hit the majors, he kind of came in at the perfect time because 2012 was a dumpster kind of season for the Red Sox. They had literally nobody. So he had the perfect year to come up. But yeah, he was supposed to be really good.
Yeah, he was quite the guy. Like, this is kind of our new core. Like, the 2011 ended up being a disaster. In 2012, we were kind of sweeping the streets. Even before the Gonzalez, Crawford, Punto, Beckett trade, there was Kevin Youkilis was kind of getting run out of town, and Will Middlebrooks was the perfect guy to come in, and he did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great parts to 2012. We had obviously Bobby Valentine, one of the best Red Sox managers of all time, in my opinion. We saw the start of a great ace and John McDonald come out of the pen to help us out in that 19-inning game. And we had great stars like Ryan Kalish. You brought up Nick Punto. Like, this team was filled with all-stars, in my opinion. Yeah,
and people were critical of the Red Sox. I think people were a little critical of the Red Sox after the 2011 season because, they kind of cleaned house. They got Bobby Valentine, who was kind of a question mark. But people don't realize they brought in reinforcement after reinforcement like Nick Punto. Nick Punto was like probably the biggest signing of the year. I mean, for some reason, he got overshadowed by like Albert Pujols and Prince Fielder and CJ Wilson and all those guys. But, Nick Punto, I'm surprised that Will Middlebrooks was actually able to take the third base job over Nick Punto.
Exactly, and everyone also forgets about, we saw a lot of great superstars on this team. We had the Yankee killer, the original Yankee killer here in Pedro Ciriaco, where you could arguably say that he had one of the best seasons for a shortstop all time.
Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking about Pedro Ciriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season, that great run. We're at a 205 OPS plus. Go ahead and listen to episode 42 of the show to be named later, part 1, if you want to hear about Hannes Wagner's career. But yeah, it's probably him and Ciriaco, his greatest shortstop seasons ever. Yeah, Ciriaco, he was hitting like 370 until like the last week of the season. It was insane.
The 2012 season, that was probably the year that I really actually got into baseball. And as a Red Sox fan, it's ironic because that was arguably one of our worst rosters in recent years. But I thought, I really enjoyed watching Middlebrooks. That's how he really became my favorite player. I really saw him break out. And then when he broke his wrist, man, I think it broke me inside. That kind of made me just like, it just hurt me a lot seeing that.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm gonna kick it over to Daniel because Daniel's lagging a little bit, so it's hard for him to jump in. So in about 10 seconds, I think Daniel's going to go over and respond.
Yeah, that's right. So Will Middlebrooks, he made his major league 2012 in May against the Oakland A's, and in his first game, he had two hits, one of them being a double and a stolen base. And he is actually the only player in Red Sox history with two hits, double, and one stolen base in their major league debut. Also, he's the only third baseman in major league history with that same debut. So, I mean, he had quite a historic first day at work.
That sounds like there's a case to be made for the Hall of Fame here.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to compare to anyone because no one else did what he did. So,
yeah, I mean, if you could judge a player's career by one day, Will Middlebrooks was the first out.
Yeah, I would agree. I think also, if there was like a one-day Hall of Fame, I don't want to bring another Red Sox player into this, but I think Daniel Nava also gets into that Hall of Fame.
I was thinking the same thing. Are we talking about that debut?
Yeah, I was at my sister's dance recital when I found out about the great first pitch swinging grand slam off Joe Blanton in that 2010 Phillies game. 2010, another forgotten Red Sox year. Kind of a weird one. Lots of injuries.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm going to get a little off topic here, but we're talking about 2012. Can we at least mention the resurgence of Daniel Bard for a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty fitting. It's pretty fitting that, about 8 years after this glorious season concluded, we're actually seeing, a legend of that 2012 season still kicking in the major leagues and actually doing very well.
He's throwing gas. I love it, man. Like, now the only thing I'm waiting for is, because what? I think Bard was out of the league for like 6-7 years. I think it's actually close to 8. But I want a Middlebrooks comeback. I know he retired on his terms, but come on. Can we get the twig back together? Let's go crazy. Come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think he owes it to, not only the world of baseball to have, kind of a farewell tour, a Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera-esque farewell tour, David Ortiz-esque farewell tour. But, he owes it to himself. He deserves it. He deserves it for being one of the greatest Red Sox third basemen of all time. In fact, I'm gonna give you a nice stat on his 2012 season. Of all Red Sox third basemen in their rookie season, of all Red Sox players in their rookie season who played 50% of their games at third base and had at least 250 plate appearances, his OPS was the best in that group in a rookie season. So how about that? I don't have the drop, but how about that?
I want to stay with his rookie season because I'm gonna do something bold here. But at the time when he played, his last game was August 10th against the Indians when he broke his wrist. But at that time, he was having better numbers than Bryce Harper. And I think that him breaking his wrist was ultimately his downfall. Because when you look at his career, I think the biggest thing that stands out is the guy just couldn't stay healthy. He got a ring in 2013, and the most amount of games he's played in a season was that year with 94. But in 2012, he was swinging the twig, man. He was one of the few, like I said, he's one of the few bright spots of this team that I actually enjoyed to watch. But injuries just kept derailing his career. And it was sad to watch as he just kept trying to do everything he could. But he struggled with hamstring problems. Well, of course, the wrist, but then he had hamstring issues, a bunch of concussions. And then, he's making that comeback tour in 2018 with the Phillies, and he breaks his leg, and then that's when he hangs up the cleats. So it just hurt to see that his body was failing on him when he clearly still wanted to be in the game.
Yeah, that's very true. Very good point you bring up there. Daniel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you never want, it's always really sad to see a guy's career sort of derail Middlebrooks did because of injuries. But he never really even got much of a chance. I mean, there are so many, people forget how good he was looking in that 2012 season. And I have, like I said, like you mentioned, best OPS of any Red Sox rookie third baseman. But I mean, it is unfortunate, like you mentioned, because he had I think a lot of people forget now that we're so far removed from it how much potential he really had at that time.
Yeah, and what I would say is it kind of let, like, Will Middlebrooks, Kevin Youkilis was kind of the guy at third for a little bit, and there was Mike Lowell before him. There's Bill Miller before him. There was kind of a rotation of, above average, at least, third baseman on the baseball field for the Red Sox, and Will Middlebrooks was supposed to be that guy. And then they had, come after 2014, they have a little bit of a hole at third base. They didn't believe in Garen Cecchini enough, and then they signed Pablo Sandoval, and then you're in a bad situation with that guy, and then finally we have Rafael Devers. But I mean, it kind of led to a little downfall at third base for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, just the third base has just been a weird thing. I think in the recent years, the two things I believe in is if you get the number 23, you're unlucky. Things aren't going to go so well. That's why I'm crossing my fingers Chavis breaks this. But the thing is, too, Middlebrooks, really after his rookie season, that just showed that we really had no depth at third. And when you're looking at a GM that we had Ben Cherington at the time, who praised a farm system, you brought up Cecchini, which that just gave me major flashbacks of a failed prospect. But one thing with the Red Sox, too, is they bring up guys. And I think one big issue they had in like 2013, 14, 15 is they really struggled to give these guys sustainable playing time. I'm going to bring up some names. Like, I think we failed Jose Iglesias. Him getting out of Boston was one of the best things for him because we never really played him enough. Another guy, Ryan Lavarnway. I mean, you can even put Kalish in there. I mean, he played in 2012, but we had a lot of prospects come up, and we just sent him up for an at-bat, send him back down. And then 2 days later, hey, you're playing again, come back up. And you can't really expect these guys to actually get adjusted to the major league level when everything just keeps fluctuating.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I would say Brian Lavarnway made me have a bad taste about prospects in general for until about like 2018. I don't know, until the core of the Red Sox kind of set out. I truly believed in prospects. Once like Bogarts, Betts, and Bradley kind of worked out, that's when I started believing in prospects again. But Brian Lavarnway made me just not believe in prospects ever.
Well, I lost hope when I heard everything about Henry Owens. He was a special one.
We refused to trade Cole Hamels for Henry Owens. Good times.
So they put too much hope into a guy that never panned out, and like that's how prospects work. I mean, when you talk about NBA, NFL, NHL, like you look at the drafts, those guys are going to make immediate impact. But look at a baseball draft from like say 2010. Look at how many guys in the first round aren't really prominent stars. The MLB draft is just wild.
You guys remember Trey Ball?
Mark Capel?
Yep.
Trey Ball, the number 7 pick in 2013. Austin Meadows was taken. Aaron Judge was taken that year. Tim Anderson was taken that year. The Red Sox, I mean, obviously, it's very hard to tell that far in advance, but the Red Sox, they passed on that many guys to get Trey Ball at the number 7 spot in 2013. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, and even then, as I said, I'm really not high on prospects. But looking at what Bloom's done with this past draft, I'm actually excited. I really like the Blaze Jordan pick. I like the strategy he took with that, kind of reaching with the first pick and then going really high on a later pick. I have faith in Bloom because, I mean, to be honest with Red Sox fans right now, we don't have much faith to put into anything, right?
Yeah, that's true. The only thing you can hope for is a good future.
Now, I mean, I came on from Middlebrooks.
Where are you on?
I still want to praise my king up here. I want to talk about my superstitions because I know you guys are both statistics guys. I am myself, but I think the 3 biggest downfalls to Will Middlebrooks were, number 1 was the wrist injury. I think that really just shut, it just started his career of injuries that he was never going to be able to come back from. Another thing, I didn't like how he changed his number. I thought that 64, I think it's a unique number for a guy that's having a great rookie season. No one else is wearing 64 in the majors. That's your number. Kind of like how Cespedes wore 52. Like, it was just weird, but it works for him. And then 3 was just how he switched bats. I think in 2012 he used a lot of like black bats, and then he kind of switched over using a lot of like tan and stuff, which I sound crazy saying this right now, but then again, in 2012 I was probably 11 years old, and I was like, these are the reasons he's not doing well anymore. Bring back the bat, change the number. But I gotta do anything to save my king right now.
Yeah, it's it's all hindsight now.
What could have been?
What could have been? Anything more on the career of the great Will Middlebrooks, or even the 2012 Red Sox?
I will say that I think other than winning a ring with the Red Sox and having one of the, as we talked about, a historical rookie season with the Red Sox, my guy was also pretty nice off the field. I mean, Jenny Dell, guys. Any comments?
Good choice.
The best will forever. John Farrell had an affair with Jess Moran. That one will forever go on in my heart.
Wait, say that again?
You guys remember when John Farrell was like possibly having an affair with Jessica Moran, who was like a media member as well?
Oh, John. Oh, John.
I do remember that. Was that like 2015 or 16?
Something like that. Hold on, let me look it up.
I mean, we're talking about the 2015 season here. I mean, well, there wasn't much to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Moran resigned amid questions about it in 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
No comment.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think that's a good stopping point for this segment. We're going to wrap up this segment. We would like to thank our good friend, Nico Fiscella, for stopping by the show to be named later. And we are going to get right back to you with our How About That's slightly alarming statistics and our preview of the upcoming week or weekend. We don't really know when we're recording this next episode, but see you then.
All right, what a segment.
What a segment. We would like to thank once again Nico Fiscella for coming on the program. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to get into our How About That's for the past week, our edition of our Sunday, August 16th edition of How About That. Who do you have for your How About That's?
Well, I have 2 players today. One of which was a team we just talked about at the end of the buy or sell segment. Starling Marte. This guy has been one of the best players in baseball for the past calendar year plus. And since July 24th of 2019, he is tied for 16th in the majors with 147 weighted runs created plus. And since that time, he has a slash line of 336, 402, 525, 927. That 402 OBP, by the way, that ranks 8th in baseball since that date. That is July 24th, 2019. Starling Marte has been doing it for the D-backs. He has like a low 9s OPS this season with a high batting average. He's in the right spot on an offense that hasn't really been able to get it going. And he's done extremely well, and he's been one of the best players in baseball, and he's been very overlooked since then. So my second – oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so my second How About That. We mentioned the Orioles earlier, and how are they pulling this off? How are they 12-9 right now? Who do they even have? Well, they got Renato Nunez, who hit 30 home runs last season, and since July 31st of this year, has a 201 weighted runs created plus coming into Sunday. That ranks 13th in the majors. Also since then, 446, 443, 672, for an 1135 OPS. Renato Nunez has been the whole of the Orioles offense. He and Anthony Santander hit 2 home runs today. But that's the reason the Orioles have been doing strangely well.
Yeah.
How about that?
So my first how about that player, I have a player and I also have sort of a team or like a section of a team.
Mm-hmm.
So my how about that player is Max Fried. So
yes,
Mike Soroka, he gets injured, and don't get me wrong, that's a very serious injury, a very big blow to the Braves starting pitching staff. But Max Fried has definitely been picking up Mike Soroka's load at the moment. So Max Fried, his season, he allowed 2 runs in his first start, 1 run in each of the next 2 starts, and no runs in his next 2 starts after that, which are his last 2 starts. So it's been 2 runs, 1 run, 1 run, no runs, no runs for Max Fried. So that results in a 1.24 ERA for Max Fried. 1.24 in 29 innings pitched. He is yet to allow a home run as well. And, 1.24 ERA, sometimes, sometimes, you can get a 1.24 ERA and get sort of, lucky, as people say. And, his strikeout rate, his strikeouts per 9 is less than 9. So you think, oh, he's not a high strikeout guy. And, he has a low ERA. Maybe he's getting a little bit lucky. However, I'm saying anyone who's thinking that is wrong. He's in the 90th percentile in exit velocity against, and he's in the 82nd percentile in hard hit rate against, and also in the 90th percentile in expected slugging against. And Max Fried is tied for 2nd in pitcher B WAR in Major League Baseball coming into Sunday. And also, his 5 games with 5+ innings pitched, less than 5 hits allowed, and less than 3 earned runs allowed are tied for the most in a team's first 22 games.
How about that?
So he's been carrying the load. He's been carrying the load for the Braves. The Braves are actually 5-0 in games that he starts. They are 8-10 in other games. Also, this is kind of a how about that, but also a slightly alarming. So the Braves starter ERA with Max Fried is 5.21. Without Max Fried, it's 6.92. So Max Fried has definitely carried the entire Braves starting pitching staff, and that's why he's my how about that player of the week.
I have an answer for the Braves starting pitching rotation without Soroka.
Yeah, you might very well, because Max Fried.
His name is Ian Anderson. He's in the minors.
That's correct.
And he just pitched 6 innings with 12 strikeouts and 2 earned runs in the same game and 0 walks. And he's from upstate New York.
Yeah, you might need Ian Anderson in that rotation. He's got his ETA is this year, right?
It's right now. His ETA is right now. Get him up here.
So my how about that team is kind of an offshoot of one of your how about that players. I'm looking at the Baltimore Orioles offense.
Yeah.
Their whole entire offense. They have this offense, headed by Renato Nunez.
That's right.
Has carried the team to a very solid record, a very solid 12-9 record. And these stats are coming into Sunday, and I don't think these stats really dropped off. I mean, they scored 5 runs today. They did lose, but they did score 5
against
runs.
Scherzer, too.
Yeah, 5 runs, all off of Max Scherzer.
Yeah. 3
home runs. Yeah, they were unbelievable today, offensively at least. And coming into Sunday, this is stuff because it's not updated yet. We are recording on Sunday night. And coming into Sunday, the Baltimore Orioles were 2nd in the MLB in team OPS, 4th in runs per game, and tied for 1st in doubles. Also, they have 5 coming into Sunday. They had 5 players with 50+ plate appearances and an OPS of 900 or better. And no other team in baseball has more than 3 such players.
How about that?
And those 5 players coming into Sunday: Renato Nunez, Jose Iglesias, Rio Ruiz, Pedro Severino, and Hanser Alberto. And someone that is also going to have it also right now has an OPS of over 900 and also 50-plus plate appearances, Anthony Santander. He hit
2 home runs today.
He had 2 home runs today, and he rose his OPS to 935. So there's another guy with an OPS above 900. So the Orioles offense, they're looking extremely good right now. And I don't know if it drops off. I'm not sure.
It'd be cool. I mean, people forget they don't have Trey Mancini either.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Like, Trey Mancini is the best offensive player on this team, and he's, we hope he's doing well. He had cancer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Colon cancer, I believe it was.
Yep.
So wherever he is, we hope he's doing the absolute best. But it's awesome to know that the offense is picking it up without him.
Yeah, they've been quite unreal. So now we go over from the highs, the positives, to the lows, the negatives. This is our Sunday, August, or I guess when the episode comes out, Monday, August 17th version of.
Slightly alarming.
So do you have, I personally have come unprepared, empty-handed, because
Okay.
my pitcher from Thursday, he was slightly alarming on Thursday, but he pitched today, did pretty well, so he's not slightly alarming anymore.
Like, fires are off the hook.
Yeah, he's off the hook for now.
Someone who is not off the hook, however, is someone who was supposed to be in the Cy Young conversations this year, but has made 4 starts, Chris. Hasn't even qualified. Hasn't even pitched enough innings to qualify. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Okay. Not enough innings to qualify.
And was supposed to be in the Cy Young conversation. It's not Jack. I mean, Jack Flaherty, I guess, would anyway, because the Cardinals have only played a few games. Alex Verdugo hit a double.
I'm blanking.
All right, it's Walker Buehler.
That's right.
Walker Buehler this year. First of all, a 5.21 ERA is bad enough. But then you add in the fact that he has a 6.35 FIP. That is problematic. He's actually lucky to have a 5.21 ERA. It should be worse. That's a big problem. So let's dive into why. I have a couple things. First of all, his barrel percentages are way, way up from where they were last year. He is in the 9th percentile of barrel percentage, which is you can't have that. And particularly his curveball. Last year, the barrel percentage on his curveball was 5.6%. Like 1 in 20 batted balls were barreled. This year, 37.5%. That is a huge increase. And I know it's a much smaller sample size, but even then, that's still slightly alarming that percent of people are barreling up his curveball. And it's not like he's throwing it less either. He's doing it the same amount as he was, the year before. And the other thing, he's thrown 30 sinkers this year, and he's not a sinker ball pitcher, but 30 sinkers. And the 30th one he threw was the first swing and miss that he got. So Walker Buehler, very, very alarming. If you really want to make that case, he has a BABIP against of 176 or 167. I'm sorry, 167 BABIP against. So he's lucky to only have a 5.21 ERA. It should be a lot higher.
Yeah, that is insane. I did not realize that. I've only watched like 2 of his starts this year, but
he went 4 2/3 against the Angels last night. He has 19 innings pitched on the year total.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I expected him to be. Yeah, you expect him to be like top 5 in the Cy Young this year.
Mm-hmm.
Not happening as of now.
Definitely
so
not.
that was a good, slightly alarming to bring up. I had no idea that the issues were that bad.
I saw, like, I'll send you the chart of the barrel percentages per year. The curveball just goes like it goes way up, and it's very bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, now from slightly alarming, we go into our week preview for, I guess, the next 3 or 4 days of baseball until we get into our midweek show, which will hopefully be happening this week.
Okay.
So any particular series or players we are looking for this upcoming week?
Yeah. Number one thing I'm looking at is Rockies versus Astros. These are both teams that have something to prove. The Rockies need to prove that they're legit. The Astros need to prove that they don't need trash cans to hit the ball. And I'm looking at the matchups right now. Looks like the series opens with, we got Kyle Freeland against Brandon Bielak, who is 2-0 with a 1.76 ERA. Credit to him. The Astros have thrown a lot of rookies out there this year. Tuesday, Antonio Santella versus Zach Greinke. It's a more recognizable matchup between those two. And TBD versus TBD on Wednesday. Is it a 4-game series or a 3? 4-game series. That's just a Colorado. Okay, so you got a 4-game series there. Like I said, two teams that have something to prove in different cases.
Yes, that's a very good point. The Rockies are a team that people feel are probably overperforming, and the Astros are a team that people are perceiving are underperforming. Just one pretty glaring series I'm looking at. It's ultimately a 5-gamer because of all the doubleheaders.
Cardinals.
The series Cubs-Cardinals. The Cubs currently the top dogs of the National League Central, and the Cardinals are the defending top dogs of the National League Central. So it's an interesting dynamic of how they will be playing 2 doubleheaders in 3 days and also a game in between there, making it a 5-game series. So it's kind of a thing of like, can the Cardinals kind of gain some ground, play some catch up in that division, or are the Cubs going to remain at the top, especially in terms of, winning percentage? I think that'll be a very important series in how we view the playoffs this year. Who's going to be, a division winner, who's going to be, maybe a second place team or a team that might not even get in the playoffs.
Yeah. One last thing I want to say quick before we wrap up the show. Happy 100th anniversary to the Negro Leagues.
Yes. Very, 100th anniversary. Were there any throwbacks today?
The Marlins had some nice throwbacks that I saw.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good to see. Yep, you see that all around. The cap tipping as there very well should be.
Yeah.
It's a weird one because it's like, it was very important, but you definitely wish that it wasn't necessary. But
yeah,
you do have to tip your cap to
shout
those
out to Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. That's only some of them. Cool Papa Bell.
Yeah.
Shout out to all those guys.
Yeah, there's so much talent that, we don't really know how they rank in terms of history because of the discrimination that was happening before, 19 before integration happened in 1947.
Yep.
So that wraps up the show. Pretty good show. It's gonna be a pretty lengthy one, especially with our Will Middlebrooks 2012 Red Sox segment. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify, I don't know, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I don't know why you would be listening to both. So I guess it's and or wouldn't really make sense. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you want to watch us talk, go to our YouTube channel. It is called STBNL with Chris Gianta and Daniel Curran. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow me at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel at Daniel_Curran. He's also has that same username on Instagram. And if you want to follow the show Instagram, it is at STBNL Podcast. Basic stuff. And we hope you enjoyed our weekend recap episode, our Monday, August 17th episode. And we hope to see you on Thursday for our midweek little recap. See you on Thursday.